Are you a mom who loves fun, momming, and protecting your family? If you want to meet some of the most amazing people from all over the gun world and beyond, you are in the right place. Tune in for encouragement and sometimes just courage for moms and women just like you who are curious about shooting but are intimidated or just don't know where to start. Hey, tough mothers. I've got somebody really, really special today. I can't wait to introduce you to her. Her name is Deanna Hufstedler. She is a 3-gun competition shooter, a firearms enthusiast, a mom of a teenage girl, and she's here to talk about introducing women to shooting, common myths, and stereotypes, and how to get into competition, which is something that I'm actually really curious about myself. Deanna is originally from Bulgaria, which we're definitely going to get into, where handguns especially are not easily accessible. And yet women are often a target of violence and crime, which is definitely a catch-22. So Deanna, will you please enlighten us on how you got into shooting and what was it like coming from Bulgaria?
Well, Natalie, thank you. First and foremost, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with like-minded women and, men as well, hopefully, if they're listening to this.
If it's you, they definitely will be.
I don't see a reason why not to. We're fun. Shooting moms are fun. But yeah, thank you for having me. I am definitely one of these people that thought I had unique interests, and I thought I wouldn't find like-minded women until I started actually looking around. And there are plenty of us that enjoy firearms. We enjoy being self-sufficient. We enjoy, taking our own power and taking care of ourselves and our families. And I'm very happy to be here. But to briefly answer your question, I got into competition shooting on accident. I was actually maybe 8 or 9 years ago. I was minding my own business. I lived in Missouri in the Midwest, and my ex-husband happened to be into guns and just kind of randomly mentioned it to me. And he said, "Hey, I used to do this thing called competition shooting." And I said, "Oh my God, you have to do this again. This is so much fun." Especially coming from a country where firearms are not easily accessible. So I encouraged him to get back into the competition aspect of things. And initially, I just went and supported him and watched him perform. And one day he said, "Hey, you want to try it?" And yeah, the rest is history. I think I kind of I got the bug, I got the adrenaline bug.
So had you ever shot a gun prior to that?
I did. Actually, probably the first time I kind of fell in love with any kind of shooting was when my great grandfather took me to the county fair when I was, I don't know, big. And I shot an air rifle, hitting the little beer cabs.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved it. And then later on, when I was probably in my late teenage years, maybe 18, 19, before I moved here, I was dating a young police officer back in Bulgaria. And he took me shooting a couple of times, and I fell in love. Granted, in retrospect, he was not the best teacher. I remember some of the things he taught me, and now as a proficient, firearms person, I'm like, yeah, that was not a good habit. But no, I
You
did.
don't know what you don't know, right? You're like, yeah, this
Exactly.
makes sense. And then later you're like, wow, that was really stupid.
I know, but you got to give yourself grace. You don't know what you don't know, and it's a progression. I'm pretty sure there's plenty that I don't know now. So hopefully I'll do better in the future. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure. So you said that your ex-husband kind of got you into the 3-gun competition. Can you kind of break that down? Because a lot of people don't know what that is.
Well, I should actually correct. He got me into pistol competition. So him and I used to shoot what is called IDPA, which is the International Defense Pistol Association. And the style of shooting is pistol only, and it's very defense driven. So the scenarios you shoot are typically from concealment. You have a vest, and your pistol is typically undercover. There are plenty of rules to it. You can only shoot from behind cover. You have to do what they call slicing the pie. You can't move and shoot. So it was very restrictive from a fun element perspective. But we shot that for a couple of years, and then maybe about 2 years into it, I kind of got better. I started participating in regional and state competitions, started winning some of them. And eventually I got noticed. So I got a great opportunity to get some sponsorships and start shooting some bigger matches. And over the course of the next probably year, 6 months to a year, I started really challenging myself. I decided that it's not enough to be proficient with a pistol only and only that one shooting discipline. I started shooting others. Some of them were, again, pistol disciplines such as USPSA, which is a lot more run and gun type of stuff, much more action packed. And then I kept pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to find the next exciting thing, the next adrenaline pump. And that's how I ended up with 3-gun. But for those of you moms that don't know what that is, it's very much an athletic discipline, just like any other sport, that involves a pistol, AR-15, and a shotgun. And typically the scenarios are very dynamic. You have to very quickly transition to one firearm to the other. Obviously, you have to follow the safety rules as usual, but the object of the game is to shoot as fast as you can, as quickly as you can, with as little penalties as accurately as you can.
So what are the penalties?
Typically, your final score is your total time. And penalties or procedurals are typically deduct, or I shouldn't say deduct, they add time to your final score. So let's say you had a scenario and you were very fast and you finished the whole scenario in, I don't know, 48 seconds. However, you had so many misses that adds up. And let's say all your misses add up to 50 something seconds. However, then maybe you made a procedural mistake, shot something out of order or with the wrong firearm. That adds up to 60, 70, 80 seconds. And that's how they typically score in a lot of different disciplines. But in any case, it's all time driven. So you have to learn to be good under pressure, which I think is a good skill to have, regardless of whether you're doing competition or simply self-defense.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to panic.
And that's what we do.
I think moms, like, we're already kind of geared towards that, because like our kids will be in the middle of like destroying something and then something catches fire and then another person starts screaming and we're like, I got this. This is fine. This is good. So it's like, there have been times where my son is doing something and I'm like, oh my God, you're going to die. And I like run over there and catch him like last minute. And then something else happens and I'm like running across the house with him, like one leg in hand. And so I think moms are like already kind of like prepared for like that discipline.
You've got a point. You've got a point. Until you have seen a kid dig into rat poison or play with a laser braid, you really don't know the level of anxiety and panic you can have. So you've got a point, girl.
My son, I'm pretty sure, has like a death wish. He has no self-preservation instinct whatsoever. He's like a leap first, ask absolutely no questions, and pray that he doesn't end up in the hospital. Like that is his go, go, go.
That's why moms are superheroes. I think we are.
We do it with no sleep too, which is amazing. So yeah, you are pulling it off. If I could look half as good as you, I'd be like, I'm done. I can die happy now. I'm good. Like, I don't need anything else. I'm happy. Okay, so the 3-gun, okay, so going back to it, because I'm really interested in this 3-gun competition thing. So you were like proficient with the pistol and you're like, I want to push it. I want to do something more moving and shooting. So you kind of did that. And then you were like, let's do this 3-gun thing. How was that? Like, did you train separately for each weapon, or did you just go like, I'm just going to get an AR, I'm just going to get a rifle, and then I'm just going to add that onto my training?
That's an excellent question. And I think that's something that a lot of women especially are anxious about. We have performance anxiety and we often feel like we need to be maybe not perfect, but at least trained up or proficient before we can start. Um, I'm a Sagittarius, and Sagittarius are known for jumping before they know where they're going to land. So,
Right.
in typical Sagittarius fashion, I just decided I'm going to do this. So, I did not have a lot of training, I'll be completely honest. I jumped into competition, probably having shot my shotgun a total of 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
Uh, AR a little bit more. I mean, AR is such an easy platform. It's honestly very easy to learn. I think for women, shotgun, especially 12 gauge, is a little bit more intimidating, especially women that are slender like you. And we think that the kick of the shotgun will be harder than it actually is. I think I was just as intimidated as most women, but I kind of have that mentality of, just jump into it. And if you fail, you fail. So I approached it slightly differently. I just went to a couple of local competitions, and then I went to a regional match in Nebraska. Um, but all in all, I just decided I'm going to give it a try. At worst, I'm going to embarrass myself. Um, but so what? I mean, everybody starts from somewhere. Everyone has bad performance days and good performance days. And I'll be completely honest with you, I have been very fortunate to feel really welcome amongst men. Um,
Yeah.
let's face it, it's mostly a male dominated sport, or at least it was when I was starting out. Now there are a ton of women. But back then, I was probably one of 2 or 3 females in the whole match of 300 people. So it was a
So you were
little,
competing against men.
in a lot of championships, you are sometimes they do have a women's division. I think it's more common nowadays. Back then, it wasn't. But I don't think that's as relevant because ultimately you're competing against yourself. You're trying to outperform the last time you competed or the last time you had. So I don't think that was an issue for me. I think the issue was I didn't want to go out there and make a complete fool of myself. I didn't want to do something unsafe, be disqualified, or be the last person,
Right.
which I don't think I've been the last person, but I think I have been second to last. And it stings. Kind of sucks.
But
But
you're still here and you're amazing.
it happens.
Right. I think that's a lot of things like where we don't want to look incompetent. Like we don't want to look like we're out of place. And like you said, typically it's a male driven sport and women are getting into it more and more now. But I think there's still that level of like, ooh, they're not going to want me here, or they're going to make fun of me, or they're going to mock me. And truth be told, I kind of had that anxiety when I first went into the range by myself because my husband doesn't shoot. Nobody in my family really shoots. So I had a lot of like head trash about that. But then I went in and everybody was super friendly, like really encouraging. They were really excited to see women getting into something that they really enjoy. And I don't think it's like a boys club where they're like, I wish the women wouldn't be here. Like, I just want to be, whatever with my other guys. It's like, no, they really want their wives, their spouses, their friends to come with them. So I love hearing that people have been super supportive and like welcoming of you, because that's exactly what I'm trying to break down, is that men want us in there.
That's funny you should mention that because one of the things we kind of brought up was different myths. And that is definitely a myth. Um, I wish I could say the same thing is true about the world of business and everyday life. But in firearms specifically, that is a myth. I think for the most part, the experiences that I have had with male competitors, instructors, uh, even executives in firearms companies, is that they want to involve women. They treat us very much as equals, even though we're not. Let's just face it, from an athletic perspective, our bodies are not built the same. That's why we have male and female divisions. So I wouldn't say that there are a lot of men that I can outshoot, but for the most part, they are just built differently. They're more athletic, they're more agile, stronger. But I have never felt unwelcome at an athletic event in the shooting industry, which is not something I can say about business or athletics in general. So I think that's one of those myths that if you're a mother listening to this podcast, or not a mother, a young woman or an older woman, or, whatever, this is one of the most welcoming disciplines, and one of the disciplines where, despite the fact that we're competing against each other, we are so willing to help each other. I have showed up to competitions and I would have firearm malfunctions, something will break. Immediately, I would have someone volunteer their equipment or volunteer to help me. If I'm struggling with how to break down a stage and come up with a stage plan, someone will jump in and say, hey, I was planning on shooting it this way. I think this is the most efficient. So it's competitive, but not to the extent of I have to win at all costs.
Right.
And I appreciate that. I think it encourages new people getting introduced to the sport, and it encourages friendly marksmanship and friendly competition.
Yeah, I feel like there's a really strong community there, and people kind of have this passion and this shared experience, which is really cool. And it's on both sides of the aisle, right? Like if you have to defend yourself, nobody cares whether you're on the left or the right. Nobody cares. You know what I mean? Like if you're a woman and you're walking by yourself and somebody comes in with an ill intent, they're not going to ask you what party you affiliate with. They're not going to ask you what your political ideologies are. They're just going to attack you. And I think all mothers from all spectrums can understand that. And not just mothers, women, even men, like everybody can understand that self-preservation is something that we can kind of all come together and go, yeah, we should all be able to protect ourselves. Like, I'm not going to be victimized by some guy that's, going to strong arm me for my kid. Like, now that we've got all these like child abductions and all this like crazy stuff, despite what the movies say, I cannot defend myself barehanded against a 250-pound man. Like, that's just not going to happen. But the equalizer, being a gun and being proficient and being able to use it, levels that playing field. And now I have some confidence that I can go out and protect myself. I can protect my son, and I don't have to worry about that disparity and like size and everything. And I think everybody can kind of come together and identify with that. So I love that. I love that we're all together in that.
I know. And again, I do want to circle back to the whole concept of myths, because you brought it up again, the whole myth that you have to meet violence with the same amount of violence. Well, yes, if we're both 250 pounds and have a muscle this size, yes, maybe that would make sense. We're working on it. Right? I see I'm working on it, but no matter how much I work at it, there's no way that I would be physically capable to withstand the brute force of someone that intends to do me harm and is twice my size. It's just physiologically, it is not possible. I mean, movies can show you those little chicks that fly in the air like the Matrix and, Bruce Lee.
Or as I like to call it, a Wednesday for me. No, I do not fly.
Well, it might look like it, right?
Right.
But the point is, you're right. It's a myth. It doesn't exist. And the only equalizer is some sort of weapon. Women, we've been brainwashed that if you know how to defend yourself, if you carry a firearm, you're somehow violent, or you're preparing and you really want to hurt someone. No, I don't. It would be my worst nightmare to shoot someone. This is something that I will have to live with for the rest of my life. I would probably have to go through a legal battle to the wazoos. God knows I don't want to do it. But if it comes down to my life or my child's life versus a 250-pound man who wants to rape me or kill me or, God knows what, I'm sorry, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like people always think, oh my gosh, you're like insane for having like my family is kind of on the opposite spectrum of me as far as firearms go. Like a lot of them are over in Europe and they're kind of, you know, scared of guns. And so I posted these, you know, pictures and videos and they're literally calling my mom, like, is she mentally stable? Like, is Natalie okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. You know, like, I don't know what gave them the impression that I was mentally unstable, but, you know, I think that's that misconception. They're like, oh, you like firearms. You must be crazy. You want to shoot somebody. It's like, nope, I really, really don't. I like that is, like you said, the worst outcome in a situation that I could think of. Second from being hurt, right? Like you know, that's the worst situation. And I hope I never have to, but between that and protecting myself and my son, like there, you know, if I'm offered no choice, then I have to.
That's really strange. If you go out and learn to drive a car really well, let's say you go racing or you put that as a hobby, do people approach you and you say, you really must want to crash your car? You really
That
just
is a really,
kill
really
people.
good point.
So if I want to learn to be proficient with firearms and be able to use them and be educated, and God forbid I educate my children about it, oh my
Oh
gosh,
yeah.
I
Oh my
must get a
gosh. Now
movement.
you're insane.
Now I'm completely insane. I really, oh, the children, we must protect the children. But why does nobody say that about cars or forks and knives? You can kill a person with a fork or, a steak knife. Yet
Or
we
swimming
are,
pool. More kids die from swimming pools and drowning than gunshots here in Arizona. It's like you know, it's hot here, so everyone swims almost year round. And I mean, it's so sad that like every year there are these kids drowning in the pool. And like, we don't even think to like educate our kids, like, oh, you're going to go over to a house that has a pool. Now you need to stay away from the pool. Like some parents do, but
yeah.
they don't. But then if there's a gun in the house, they're like, oh my gosh, like that, you know, it's in a safe, it's unloaded. It's like, you know, but parents like will freak out about that stuff. And it's like, we're stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. It's like, we're really missing the boat on what is really dangerous to a child. But because of the stigma, we're like, oh, guns are the issue. It's like,
You know what?
it's
You bring
crazy.
up a point that I think we live in unprecedented times where logical thought and individual, just common sense is left behind. We're told what to think, and what is left is all of a sudden right, and what is up is all of a sudden down. And most people don't even question that. Then the news tells me that I should hate on that, so I will hate on that. Or the news tells me that, I don't even have one of the masks available, but the news tells me that the mask is going to protect me from a virus that is literally 400 times smaller than the particle of dust. And trust me, I worked at an air conditioning system where we did clinical tests to check our filtration system to see what can go through and what can't. Um, it can go through the freaking mask. The media is lying to you. The mask is not going to protect you. Anyway, I'm kind of diverging. The point I'm trying to make is that we live in unprecedented times where personal logic and thinking about what logically makes sense, basing it on facts and thinking for oneself, is overlooked. And we are
Right.
taught to blindly believe what someone else tells us our reality is. And you and I can sit here and talk all day long about logic and, hey, a firearm like this space gun, you know
That
is,
is like the prettiest thing I've ever seen.
thank you,
That
I
is
got
so
one
cool.
and I decided to keep her. But someone can sit here and tell you that this is more dangerous than the car parked in the front of my house. Well, it's
Right.
not. It's really not. I have a higher likelihood of murdering a person in my vehicle than I do shooting them with this. But politicians will tell you different. So
Right. Well, it's easy to take over people when they're disarmed, but that's all I'll say.
I know we got a little
um,
sensitive here.
yeah, I try to stay kind of neutral. But yeah, so really quick though, we kind of went down this little thing, but I forgot to ask you. So why did you move from Bulgaria to the States? Like, what was that like? Like,
Well, I was 18 and I wanted to prove that I can make it on my own. Um, no, I mean, I'm sure that was one of the motivations, but I think at the time my country was undergoing a lot of political change. In 1990, the communist regime, we used to be a communist country for 45 years. And in 1990, the communist regime fell. Well, what followed was many years of complete economic and cultural uncertainty. And by the time I was a graduating high schooler, the opportunity forecast was pretty grim. So I really wanted to pursue the American dream. I wanted to get an education. I wanted to prove myself and I wanted to build something out of nothing. So I moved here with $500 and I went to college and one thing led to another and bachelor's led to master's and then a career, family, and here I am in Dallas, Texas. I came here for a job and yeah, I'm just doing life just like any young woman out there.
that is amazing. Like, you're kind of like my hero now. Like, you're just like, yeah, I'm 18. I'm going to take $500 and move to a foreign country and just like establish myself. Like when I was 18, I don't think I could like handle my life like that. I was not that driven. So that is amazing. And it's probably served you really, really well, just in your career and your family and your competitions and everything. So that's awesome. That is really cool. That is
Look,
really
you're
cool.
saying that, but I think most of us don't think about some of the most major steps we take in life. We don't really think about them that way. We just think, oh, I want to do that. I'll just go do that. And we don't late until later in life we realize what a huge step it was. At the time, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to take this major step that will change my life forever. We don't, I don't know about you, but I most generally just think about what is the right thing to do right now. Is it a good move? Okay, I'll do it. And then later you realize how it has completely changed the course of your life. But
I love it. That is awesome. That is really, really cool. I love that mindset. I think it's just the best mindset to have. Like, you're like, I'm not going to worry about my fears. I'm not going to worry about what if it doesn't work. You're like, just screw it. I'm going to do it and I'm going to make the best of it. And I think that is awesome. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for kind of taking us through your journey. It has been really, really interesting. I'm going to leave it to you to give any message to those tough mothers out there that are interested in shooting and want to get in but are intimidated. Your mindset, your thought process is probably going to be any better than anything I could say. So what would you say to them if they're having some hesitation but want to get into it?
my only message to other women and men for that matter is don't wait until you're not scared anymore. Being scared is okay. Do it anyway. Do what you love. Try it.
Yes, I love that. Deanna, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. You were spectacular. If anybody wants to follow Deanna, she is on Instagram at Gun Queen, which is the best name ever. I'm super, super jealous of that. Is there any way else that women can kind of reach out to you and interact that you want to share? And I'll put those in the show notes for anybody that's watching this on YouTube, for them to reach out to her and follow her.
Please, ladies, I would love to connect if you want any tips on getting into competition or even just getting started with firearms, or if you just want to be friends, in the shooting community, please reach out. I would say Instagram message is one of the easiest ways to get connected. This is how Natalie and I got connected. You can
I
also shoot
started
me.
stalking her.
Oh, I
Sorry.
stalking too. I see all your cute posts and the firearms and the boys
Just
and
trying to
everything.
keep up with you, sister. So Instagram, and then do you have like a website or anywhere else that they can kind of like reach out to you?
Gunqueen.com. Unfortunately, it's down at the moment. I need to renew my hosting service, but it will be up soon. Also, you can reach me at diana@gunqueen.com, or you can find me at diana.hufstedler on Facebook. Any way you'd like to connect, I'm here. And thank you for having me again, Natalie. You rock. Please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right, tough moms, get out there, get shooting, pull that trigger, reach out to Diana. She's amazing. I will see you guys soon. Great job. You made it to the end. You are one tough mother. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to support the work that we do and keep the good lovin' coming, subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening. What's that? You're one of those crazy mother followers that wants more of this nonsense? You got it. Subscribe to the Moms Love Guns YouTube channel, follow us at Moms Love Guns on Instagram, and join our free private Facebook group to connect with other women just like you in an encouraging and non-judgmental community. If you want to share even more love, share your new favorite community with a friend or all of your friends, maybe even a few enemies, just to be safe. Get out there, overcome your fears, be not afraid. You have got this.